Unless otherwise stated, instrument procedures use the standard IFR climb gradient of 200 feet per nautical mile. Which is true regarding the use of an instrument departure procedure chart? Answer: to use instrument departure procedure, the pilot must possess at least the textual description of the approved procedure. For the figure 211, for takeoff on runway 27, using an average ground speed of 150 knots, what minimum rate of climb would meet the required minimum rate of climb as specified on the instrument departure procedure? Answer: 850 feet per minute. Refer to figure 216. You are clear to take off from runway 25 with minimum weather. What minimum rate of climb in feet per minute to 9,700 feet MSL is required for Reno 6 Reno departure, assuming a ground speed of 150 knots? Answer: 1,250 feet per minute. Refer to figure 163. What minimum rate of climb per nautical mile through 6,000 feet required for GNAT's 6 departure when departing runway 32? Answer: 400 feet. What action is recommended if a pilot does not wish to use an instrument departure procedure? Answer: enter no DP in the remarks section of the IFR flight plan. What is the standard IFR climb gradient? Answer: 200 feet per nautical mile. Assume that an instrument departure procedure requires a minimum climb rate of 210 feet per nautical mile up to 9,000 feet. Your ground speed is 140 knots. What is the rate of climb required in feet per minute? Answer: 490. Okay, so explanation of the equation is ground speed times feet per nautical mile over 60 being per minute, 60 seconds per minute. So yet again, the equation is ground speed times feet per nautical mile divided by 60 equals feet per minute. Which procedure applies to instrument departure procedures? Answer: if an instrument departure procedure is accepted, the pilot must possess a textual or graphic description. Okay. Which is true regarding stars? Answer: stars are established to simplify clearance delivery procedures. For the figure 208, what exactly does Stella 1 arrival begin? Where exactly? I'm going to do that one over again. Exactly where does the Stella 1 arrival begin? Answer: Cannon, CAN intersection. Refer to figure 174 and 175. When DFW is landing to the north at Curly, expect. Answer: radar vectors. Radar vectors. For the figure 174, what point does Gen 9 arrival begin? Answer: at Glen Rose Vortex. Looks like it highlights the vortex and the arrow's pointing away, and that vortex is Glen Rose, and it shows Gen on there. ATC can issue a star. Answer: when ATC deems it appropriate, unless the pilot requests no star. For the figure 175, where does Gen 9 arrival begin? Answer: Gen. Okay, so the Glen Rose Vortex identifier is Gen. Which of the following statements regarding stars is most accurate? Answer: stars facilitate the transition between the en route portion of the flight and the instrument approach procedures. During a flight, the controller advises traffic 2 o'clock, 5 miles southbound. The pilot is holding 20 degrees correction for a crosswind from the right. Where should the pilot look for the traffic? Answer: 40 degrees to the right of the aircraft's nose. Explanation. Okay, so each hour on the visual clock represents 30 degrees. For example, 3 o'clock is 90 degrees off the nose of the right. To the right. Off the nose to the right. Controllers use clocks based on aircraft's ground track, not its heading. In this example, the aircraft is already turned 20 degrees to the right for the wind correction. 2 o'clock represents 40 degrees. Thus, or represents 60 degrees. I'm going to say this over again. Each hour on the visual scanning clock represents 30 degrees. For example, 3 o'clock is 90 degrees off the nose to the right. Controllers use the clock based on the aircraft's ground track, not its heading. In this example, the aircraft is already turned 20 degrees to the right for wind correction. 2 o'clock represents 60 degrees. Thus, the pilot must look 40 degrees, the difference between 20 and 60, to the right of the aircraft's nose. What is the rule for a pilot receiving a land and hold short operation clearance? Answer: the pilot has the option to accept or reject the land and hold all land and holds short clearance. This actually says the pilot has the option to accept or reject all LAHSO clearances, regardless of the meteorological conditions. When should pilots state their position on the airport when calling for the tower for takeoff? Answer: when departing from the runway intersection. Which technique should a pilot use to scan traffic to the right and left during straight and level flight? Answer: systematically focus on different segments of the sky for short intervals. What is meant when departure control instructs you to resume own navigation after you have been vectored to a Victor away? You should maintain the airway by use of your navigation equipment. What service is provided by departure control to an IFR flight when operating from an airport within the outer area of Class C airspace? Answer: separation from all IFR aircraft participating in VFR and participating VFR aircraft. ATC may assign the MOCA when certain special conditions exist when within 220 nautical miles of a VOR. Refer to Figure 78. What is the maximum altitude that you may plan for an IFR flight on Victor 86 eastbound between the Livingston VOR DME and Billings Vortex? 17,000. Where is the VOR COP when flying east of the 306 VC306 from DayZ to Lake Charles? Answer: 30 nautical miles of DAS. You are flying to the northeast on a 468 halfway between AXQOX and Trotz intersection. At what minimum altitude should you cross Trotz? Answer: 11,500. Refer to Figure 80 and Legend 33. What is indicated by the localizer course symbol at the Jack Brooks Regional Airport? Answer: a published ILS localizer course which has an additional navigation function. Refer to Figure 87. Where is the VOR changeover point on Victor 20 between Hobby and Beaumont? Answer, halfway. Beaumont. Acceptable navigational signal coverage at Mocha is assured for a distance from the VOR of only, answer, 22 nautical miles. Refer to figure 89. What is the ARTCC frequency at the COP on Victor 208 southwestbound on V208 southwestbound from HVE? Answer, 127.55. Refer to figure 34. At which altitude and location on V 573 would navigational signal of the hot VOR DME be unreliable? Answer, 3,000 feet at a pine. If no MCA is specified, what is the lowest altitude for crossing a radio fix beyond which a higher minimum applies? Answer, the MEA at which the fix is approached. Military training routes MTR above 1,500 feet are depicted on, answer, IFR low altitude en route charts. Except when necessary for takeoff or landing, unless otherwise authorized by the administrator, the minimum altitude for IFR flight is, answer, 2,000 feet above the highest obstacle over designated mountainous areas, 1,000 feet above the highest obstacle over terrain elsewhere. Refer to figure 47. You have just passed the BTG vortex and are flying east on V112 toward LTJ vortex. At what minimum altitude should you cross GYMME? GYMME. Answer, 7,000 MSL. What is the definition of MEA? Answer, the lowest published altitude at which meets obstacle clearance required and assured acceptable navigation signal coverage. You are planning a flight that will include a leg on V573 from hot VOR DME to the TXK vortex. What is the highest altitude you may fly? Answer, 16,000 feet. Which type of airspace are depicted on low altitude en route charts? Answer: limits of controlled airspace, military training routes, and special use airspace. For the figure 91, when eastbound from the DBS Vortac on V98 on V298, what is the minimum crossing altitude at Sabata, SABAT intersection? Answer: 11,100 feet. 11,100 feet. The altitude that provides acceptable navigation signal coverage for the route and meets obstacle clearance requirements is the minimum en route altitude. En route altitude. What is the waypoint when used for an IFR flight? Answer: a predetermined geographical position used for an RNAV route or an RNAV instrument approach. Refer to figure 91. What lighting, if any, is indicated at Jackson Hole Airport? Answer: pilot controlled lighting. For the figure 47, a flag symbol containing an X in it is seen at both Battleground and Click Kitat Vortac. What does it mean? Answer: a minimum crossing altitude exists. In the case of operations over a non-mountainous area, no person may operate an aircraft under IFR below. Answer: an altitude of 1,000 feet above the highest obstacle with a horizontal distance of 4 nautical miles of the course. For the figure 91, when flying northbound IFR flight on V257, what is the minimum crossing altitude at DBS Vortac? Answer: 8,600 feet. In case of operations over an area designated as a mountainous area, no person may operate an aircraft under IFR below 2,000 feet above the highest obstacle within a horizontal distance of 4 nautical miles of the course line. Reception of signals from an off airway radio facility may be inadequate to identify the fix at the designated MEA. In this case, which altitude is designated for the fix? Answer: MRA. For the figure 34, you are flying to the northeast on V16 at 4,000 feet MSL, approaching the Sparrow intersection. At what altitude should you cross Sparrow. Sparo. Answer 4,000. A pilot is advised radar service is terminated during the en route phase of an IFR flight. What should the pilot do? Answer: resume normal position reporting. Resume normal position reporting. Refer to figure 34. You are flying to the northeast V16, halfway between KECEC and Hoses intersection. What is the lowest altitude you may fly over Hoses and be assured of signal reception from ground-based navigational aids? Answer: 3,000 feet MSL. Which would be the refer to figure 65. Which would be the point? Which point would be the appropriate VOR COP on V 552 from the left to the TBD vortex? Answer: 34 DME from the left vortex. Answer: this is another question. All right, refer to figure 65 and 67. What is the significance of the localizer symbol at Grice intersection? Answer: the localizer has an additional navigation function. Refer to figure 65 and 66. What is your position relative to Grice intersection? Answer: right of 552, V552, and approaching Grice intersection. What type of airspace exists above Bryce Canyon Airport from the surface to 1,200 feet AGL? Answer: Class E and Class G. Class E or Class G. Unless otherwise prescribed, what is the rule regarding altitude and course to be maintained during an IFR off airways flight over mountainous terrain? Answer: 2,000 feet above the highest obstacle within a horizontal distance of 4 nautical miles. The lowest published altitude, which meets obstacle clearance requirements and assures obstacle navigation signal coverage, is the answer: MEA. MEA is an altitude at which assures answer: obstacle navigation signal coverage acceptable. My bad. MEA is an altitude which assures answer: acceptable navigation signal coverage and meets obstruction clearance requirements. In non-mountainous areas Which condition is guaranteed for all the following IFR altitude limits: MEA, MCA, and MOCA? Answer: 1,000 foot obstacle clearance. 1,000 foot obstacle clearance. Which type of airspace are depicted on low altitude en route chart? Answer: limits of controlled airspace, military training routes, and special airspace, special use airspace. Reception of signals from a radio facility located off the airway being flown may be inadequate at the designated MEA to identify the fix. In this case, which altitude is designated for the fix? Answer: MRA. Refer to figure 8.9. On an IFR flight from Milford Municipal to Bryce Canyon via V235 and V293, at what minimum altitude should you be when crossing Cedar City VOR? Answer: 12,000 feet. 12,000 feet. Refer to figure 91. Where should you change VOR frequencies when en route from DBS VORTAC to Jack VOR DME on V520? Answer: 60 nautical miles from DBS VORTAC. Okay, it shows at a switch point on 520 from Jack. You can barely see Jack on the actual picture, and DBS, but it shows at the switch point a 60 header or bullet point. On which frequency could you communicate with the Montgomery County FSS while on the ground at College Station? Answer: 122.65 and 122.2. Refer to figure 113. What is the recommended entry to the holding procedure if the following ATC clearance is received? Cleared to the XYZ VORTAC, hold south on 180 radial. Answer: direct. The maximum allowable indicated airspeed used by an aircraft in a hold above 14,000 feet is 265 knots. 265 knots. What maximum indicated airspeed should be used for civil aircraft holding at 5,000 feet? Answer: 200 knots. 200 knots. Refer to figure 87. You are at a strut intersection headed eastbound. ATC instructs you to hold on the 10 DME fix west of LCH on the 306 standard turns. What entry procedure is recommended? Answer: direct. Refer to figure 112. You arrive at the 15 DME fix on a heading of 210. Which holding pattern, 1 or 2, correctly complies with ATC clearance below? And what is the recommended entry procedure? Hold west of the 15 DME fix on the 090 radial of the XYZ Vortac 5-mile leg left turns. Answer: 1, parallel entry. Holding fix is a little triangle. You're coming in at 210 degrees. Protected holding side, so think P for parallel. Pattern 2 can be eliminated because it shows outbound travel on the inbound leg. Prior to conducting timed approaches from a holding fix, which of the following is required? Answer: the airport where the approach is to be conducted must have a control tower in operation. When should the pilot begin timing for the first outbound leg of a non-standard holding pattern? Answer: when over or abeam the holding fix, whichever occurs last. A pilot must report to ATC without a specific ATC request when? Answer: reaching a holding fix. Refer to figure 114. You receive the following clearance. What is the recommended entry? Cleared to the XYZ Vortac. Hold on the 300 radial. Answer: direct. 300. Answer: direct. Refer to figure 113. What is the recommended procedure for entering a holding pattern if the ATC clearance is received? Cleared to the XYZ Vortac. Hold west on the 270 radial. Answer: direct. With regards to timing, what procedure should be used when holding a VOR at a VOR? Answer: timing for the outbound legs starts abeam or over the station, whichever occurs last. Refer to figure 113. What is the recommended entry to the holding pattern if the following clearance is received from ATC? Answer: hold east of the XYZ Vortac on the 090 radial left turns. Answer: parallel. Left turns, predominantly parallel. Got it. If Multiple circuits of a holding pattern are needed to lose altitude. The additional circuits can be made only with ATC approval. A pilot must report to ATC without a specific ATC request when leaving any assigned holding fix or points. If only one missed approach procedure is available, which of the following conditions is required when conducting timed approaches from a holding fix? Answer: the reported ceiling and visibility minimums must be equal to or greater than the highest prescribed circling minimums for the IAP. Refer to figure 114. What entry procedure is recommended for the holding pattern if the following ATC clearance is received? Cleared to XYZ Vortec, hold on the 350 radial, left turns. Answer: direct. For the figure 115, you have received following ATC clearance. Arrive at 15 DME, fix heading of 350 degrees, which is the correct pattern, 1 or 2, and what is the recommended hold entry procedure. Hold west on the 15 DME fix on the 090 radial of the XYZ Vortec, 5-mile legs, left turns. 1, direct. What type of entry is recommended for the missed approach holding a VOR DME runway 36 approach at Price, Carbon County Regional Airport? Answer: parallel. Which rules apply to the pilot in the command of which rules apply to the pilot in command when operating on a VFR on the top clearance? Answer: IFR and VFR. VFR and IFR. When can a VFR on the top clearance be assigned by ATC? Answer: only upon request of the pilot when conditions are indicated to be suitable. What altitude may a pilot on an IFR flight plan select upon receiving VFR on the top clearance? Answer: an appropriate VFR altitude at or above the MEA in VFR weather conditions. In which airspace is VFR on top operations prohibited? Answer: Class A airspace. ATC has approved your request for VFR on top while on an IFR clearance. Therefore, you must fly appropriate VFR altitudes. What minimums must be considered in selecting an altitude when operating with a VFR on top clearance? Answer: minimum IFR altitude, minimum distance from clouds, and visibility appropriate to the altitude selected. You have filed an IFR flight plan with VFR on the top in lieu of an assignment altitude. If you receive this clearance and fly a course of 180 degrees, at what altitude should you fly, assuming VFR conditions? Answer: an even 1,000-foot MSL altitude plus 500 feet, plus 500 feet. Even plus 500 feet, 180. A cruise 4,000 feet clearance would mean that the pilot is authorized to vacate 4,000 feet without notifying ATC. When on a VFR on top clearance, the cruising altitude is based on magnetic course. What cruising altitude is appropriate for VFR on top on a westbound flight below 18,000 feet? Answer: even 1,000-foot levels plus 500, but not below MEA. For the figure 91, what are two limiting cruise altitudes usable on V343 for a VFR on top flight from DBS Vortex to Rainy intersection? Answer: 15,500 feet and 17,500 feet. Which ATC clearance should instrument rated pilots request in order to climb through a cloud layer or any area of reduced visibility and then continue flight VFR? Answer: VFR on top. When operating under IFR with VFR on top clearance, what altitude should be maintained? Answer: a VFR cruising altitude appropriate to the magnetic course being flown and as restricted by ATC. When reports are required, what reports are required for a flight operating on an IFR clearance specifying VFR on top in non-radar environments? Answer: same reports that are required for any IFR flight. What is the significance of an ATC clearance which reads Cruise 6000? Answer: it authorizes a pilot to conduct flight at any altitude from minimum IFR altitude up to and including 6,000. What is expected of you as a pilot on IFR flight plan if you are descending or climbing in VFR conditions. Execute gentle banks left and right at a frequency which permits continuous visual scanning of airspace about you. What is the significance of an ATC clearance which reads Cruise 7000? Answer: climbs may be made to or descents made from 7,000 feet at pilot's discretion. You are an IMC and have a two-way radio communications failure. If you do not exercise emergency authority, what procedure are you expected to follow? Answer: set the transponder to code 7600. Continue flight on assigned route and fly at last assigned altitude or the MEA, whichever is higher. For the figure 8.5, what procedure should be followed if communications are lost before reaching 9,000 feet? Answer: continue to climb to WAG INT, turn left, direct to FMG Vortac, then if at or above MCA, proceed on assigned route. If not, continue climbing in holding pattern until at proper altitude. Which procedure should you follow if you experience two-way communication failure while holding at a holding fix with an EFC time? Holding fix is not the same as approach fix. Answer: depart the holding fix at the EFC time. You enter a holding pattern at a fix that is not the same as the approach fix. with an EFC time of 1,530 at at 1530. My bad. 1530. At 1520, you experience complete two-way communications failure. Which procedure should you follow to execute the approach to landing? Answer: deploy the holding fix at the EFC time and complete the approach. What altitude and route should be used if you are flying an IMC and have two-way radio communication failures? Answer: continue on the route specified in your clearance. Fly at an altitude that is the highest of the last assigned altitude. Altitude uh, altitude ATC has informed you to expect, or the MEA. Which procedure should you follow if, during an IFR flight in VFR conditions, you have two-way radio communication failure? Answer: continue the flight under VFR and land as soon as practicable. For the figure 8-7, while holding at the 10 DME fix east of LCH for an ILS approach to runway 15 at Lake Charles Regional Airport, ATC advises you to expect clearance for the approach at 10:15. At 1000, you experience two-way radio communication failure. Which procedure should be followed? Answer: squawk 7600 and plan to begin your approach at 10:15. If there is a failure of the two-way radio communication while operating on an IFR clearance in VFR conditions, the pilot should continue, answer, the flight under VFR and land as soon as practicable. Refer to figure 9.6 and 9.7. To which aircraft position does refer to figure 9.6 and 9.7. To which aircraft position does HSI presentation I respond? Answer: 11. For the figure 96 and 97, to which aircraft position does the HSI presentation F correspond? Answer: 4. For the figure 96 and 97, to which aircraft position does Refer to figure 96 and 97. To which aircraft position does HSI presentation C correspond? Answer 12. For the figure 96 and 97, which HSI indicates the position of aircraft 2? Answer D for Delta. Refer to figure 96 and 97. To which aircraft position does HSI presentation Bravo B Bravo correspond? 5 and 13. 5 and 13. For the figure 96 and 97, to which aircraft position does HSI presentation G Golf correspond? Answer 7 and 11. Refer to figure 96 and 97, to which aircraft position does HSI presentation H correspond? Answer 1. For the figure 96 and 97, to which aircraft position does HSI presentation E correspond? Answer 8 and 3. For the figure 96 and 97, to which aircraft position does HSI presentation A Alpha correspond? Answer 9 and 6. The rate of descent on glide slope depends on answer ground speed. Which range facility associated with ILS can be identified by a two-letter coded signal? Answer compass locator. You are on an ILS LOC approach. How do you determine if DME is available? Answer IAP will be located. Oh, IAP will be indicated. Say that again. IAP will indicate a DME to CAN channel in LOC frequency box. You are in an ILS LOC approach. How do you determine if DME is available? Answer IAP will indicate a DME TACAN channel in LOC frequency box. For the figure 223, you are flying the ILS runway 31 at Des Moines. What should be your altitude at the final approach fix? Answer 2,400. 2,400. For the figure 139 and figure 140, which displacement from the localizer and glide slope at the 1.9 nautical mile point is indicated? Answer 710 feet to the right of the localizer center line and 140 feet above the glide slope. During a precision radar or ILS approach, the rate of descent required to remain on glide slope will answer increase as ground speed increases. Refer to figure 139 and figure 141, which displacement from the localizer center line and glide slope at 1,300 foot point from the runway is indicated? Answer 21 feet above the glide slope and approximately 320 feet to the left of the runway center line. To maintain the glide slope during the ILS runway 16L at EUG, what approximate descent rate in feet per minute will produce a ground speed of 105 knots? Answer 557 feet. When installed with ILS and specified in approach procedures, DME may be used Answer in lieu of the ohm. Refer to leg 27. You are flying on an ILS approach and have acquired the 3-degree glide slope. Your indicated airspeed is 90 knots and you have a 15-knot headwind. What should be your descent rate in feet per minute? 398. Okay. A 90-knot indicated airspeed into a 15-knot headwind produces a ground speed of 75 knots. On the table, 75 knots in the 3.0 row. You must interpolate between 60 and 90. Refer to leg 27. Assuming a 3-degree glide slope, what vertical descent rate in feet per minute will be needed if approach is being flown at 90 knots? Answer 478. What is the maximum acceptable descent of any approach during final stages, i.e. below 1,000 feet AGL? Answer 1,000 feet per minute. Maximum 1,000 feet per minute. For the figure 187, you are inbound on RNAV GPS 28L approach with ground speed of 100 knots. What would be the approximate minimum rate descent between Hana and ADDUM? Answer 500 feet per minute. Which ILS range facility is identified by the first 2 letters of the localizer identification group? Answer outer compass locator. Refer to figure 39 and figure 142. Which displacement for the localizer glide slope at outer marker is indicated? Answer 1,550. to the left of the localizer center line and 210 feet below glide slope. During an ILS approach, which substitution may be appropriate? Answer: LOC minimums should be substituted for ILS minimums whenever the glide slope becomes inoperative. For the figure 140, 141, and 142, which indicator shows a displacement from the localizer centerline glide slope indicated that you have a high and to the right ILS course? Answer: 140. You have been cleared for the ILS 3-4 approach at AFW at Fort Worth, Texas, with side step to runway 34R, at which point should you begin the sidestep maneuver? Answer: when the runway environment is in sight. Refer to figure 188. You are inbound on the LOC DME runway 21 approach, runway 21 approach, with a ground speed of 120 knots. What would be the approximate minimum rate of descent between the I-GOP 11.3 DME fix, COVDU, COVDU, and the IGOP 7.3 DME fix? Answer: 600 feet. What rate of descent? The rate of descent required to stay on the ILS glide slope must be decreased if ground speed is decreased. For the figure 227, how far is the outer marker from the runway 35R threshold at Denver Centennial? 6.3 nautical miles. 6.3 nautical miles. What effect will change in wind direction have upon maintaining a 3-degree glide slope at constant true airspeed? Answer: when ground speed increases, rate of descent must increase. Which ILS range facility is identified by the last 2 letters of the localizer identification group? Answer: middle compass locator. Which indicator shows the displacement? Refer to figure 140, 141, and 142. Which indicator shows a displacement from the localizer centerline glide slope indicating a high and to the left ILS course line? Answer: 141. High and to the left. The donut's high and to the left. What is the maximum acceptable descent rate during final stages of an approach to landing? Answer: 1,000 feet per minute. Refer to figure 141, 140, 141, 142. Which indicator shows displacement from the localizer centerline and glide slope indicating that you are below and to the left of the ILS course? Answer: 142. Refer to figure 179. During ILS runway procedure at RBD, the minimum altitude for glide slope interception is? Answer: 2,200 feet MSL. Which pilot action is appropriate if more than one component of an ILS is inusable? Use the highest minimum required by any single component that is unusable.